Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me for another music postcard. And I think you have already realized that we have a very special postcard for this week, and we are also about to finish this series. We are already in postcard number 48, and we have something that, of course, does not sound as it was Spanish because it certainly is not Spanish. My Herr Marquis, you must be. I'm pretty sure you must be aware of this sensational piece of music part of an operetta. I'm not giving much more details because what I would like to do next is to introduce you to our dear guest today. Our guest today is soprano Katia Arellano, who gladly accepted to join us for this celebration of Mexico. So let's say hi to her. Hi.
Hi, Ricardo. Hi, everyone. Thank you for this invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
And so today we will be sharing with you this immense joy because operetta always means joy. Instead of having these tremendous dramas of women throwing themselves from a castle, people dying of a certain illness, and somebody jailing because somebody else has shot someone. No, no, we are not talking about that anymore. Now we are talking about celebration, and operettas have always been this way of people to celebrate, to have fun on the stage, and that is the case. And I would like to say the el murciélago, as that is the way we say the Fledermaus in Spanish. So el murciélago. We are about to talk about that celebration, but just before we jump into the details of that celebration, I would like to take some minutes to have this conversation with Katia, our guest today, to talk a little more about her, given that you have not seen her in these postcards before. So, Katia, if you don't mind, why don't you start by telling us how is it that you found music, or maybe that music found you? How is it that you start your career?
Um, well, I'd say that music found me. I grew up in a family where we used to listen opera and boleros, mariachi, um, the named classic music all the time, zarzuela, operetta, and several different kinds of music. So one of my nannies were a piano player, and the another one was a singer one. So I would say that music runs through my veins since the very first beginning. When I was around 5 years old, I was watching La Traviata.
Hmm.
I have heard opera several years ago, but in that very moment, I was very conscious that I was watching an opera. And when I saw the soprano singing with her big red gown, I said, I want to do that when I grow up. And here I
Yeah,
am.
so you were certain of that from a very early age, and you were very fortunate to being in close contact with music as well. I think that is very positive. But now tell us, you knew that you wanted to do that, but you also discovered that you could sing. How is it that you discovered? I haven't given any more details, which I am about to do about your voice, but first tell us, how is it? When is it? Do you recall the first time that you opened your mouth for actually singing?
Well, it was in that very moment that I heard this area Estrano. After listening the area, I ran through my bedroom and I started to sing. That's the part that I remembered, and I started to sing, and I said, "Oh, it sounds like very similar." So yes, I want to do this.
And now that you mentioned and now that you just did it, I also wanted to share with you, as you may have already noticed, that also let's be sincere. Of course, many people attend opera because they like music, but many people attend it because they like fireworks. They like high
Yeah,
notes, they like long notes. And there's many people who attend a given opera just to listen to a certain note. They go to listen or to watch Il
yeah,
Trovatore because they want to see if the tenor reaches the high C. They want to, yeah, to
that's right.
attend La Traviata because they want to say to see if she actually reaches, if I recall, it is a D flat? No, it is an E flat, right? The highest note. Well, that is not
Yeah,
really written, but well, that's another conversation. But people are expecting that high note where the soprano wraps up the first act, and if she doesn't hit the note, somehow the people do not listen to the rest of the opera in the same mood. But it is your case that it is in the qualities of your voice that you have all those ornaments and all this easiness to sing high notes, to sing trines, and
that's right.
to do everything that people like to listen to, which is usually called the coloratura. So now if you can share a little with us, when did you discover that your voice allowed you to not only to sing, but also to play with your coloratura?
Well, it's curious because I was listening some different kind of music. I got an album from Charlotte Church,
Mm.
and it was Christmas music. It was Christmas carols, and I sang the songs, but I didn't feel comfortable. It was like, but she doesn't sound like me. What's going on? And then I found this soprano, this French soprano, Emma Chaplin, and I heard she has a voice, a girly voice. I said, I mean, in this point, I didn't know the kind of soprano voices that exist, but I heard that there was a difference. So Chaplin sounds like more light. It's a bright voice, and I said, "Oh, I sound like her." And I started to play with this song from Lucia de la Mermur that I heard in the movie The Fifth Element
Mm,
with the
yeah,
Blue Diva.
many people heard opera from the very first time in that movie. Yeah, I'm aware.
And I said, "Oh my God, that's me!" So that's the way I discovered I was coloratura soprano.
Okay. And do you happen to have a favorite role or a favorite aria? I know that is a hard thing to say or to choose because actually after these many years of having had the chance of being in contact with music, you say, okay, I may like this, but I also like this. And now that I recall, I also like this. But if you were to choose, what do you think are maybe the two best areas that you think fit better to your voice?
Oh my God. In this moment, I would say that the doll,
Yeah, Olympia.
Olympia,
Uh-huh.
I would say that Olympia fits me very well. And well, I'm feeling very comfortable with Baroque because it's also like very, very light music. But talking about opera, I'd say that Lakme.
Lakme also. Lakme is a very beautiful opera I don't think it has been on stage in Mexico. If not ever, it's over 60 maybe or 70 years that has not been on stage.
I think it is a complicated role.
Yeah.
So that explains a lot, but here I am.
Yeah, okay. So now that we had the chance of learning a little about Katia, why don't we start talking about operetta? And as you may recall, if you happen to have the chance of watching the video for the musicals and for the zarzuela that we have done in the past, we need to understand that even though we have shared mainly Mexican music or Latin American music in these 50 music postcards, it is true that Mexico is what it is because of the influence of many other genders, and one of them is certainly the operetta. Of course, when we have to mention, we have to be very sincere that there are many opera singers who also feel that operetta is a second class, they are second class roles for second class voices, second class librettos, and as such, there are many serious, and let me remark that serious, there are many serious singers that do not like to be performing any operetta at all, or maybe they do, but only as part of their concerts. As it is tradition that a good singer may have a role of it, a piece of couple of pieces in Neapolitan music, couple in Zarzuela, couple of musicals, couple of Mexican music, several areas, etc. So that's how operetta usually falls in that place. But as we are talking about Mexico, with this very joyful mood that it describes Mexicans, we Mexicans like to laugh at everything. We dance for no reason. We cheer for no reason. We sing for no reason. So many people who know Mexico know that we Mexicans are usually happy. Even if we have to be sad, we are still very happy. And that's where operetta finds its place. There have been in Mexico several companies. One of them, let me recall, soprano Cristina Ortega, who had a good number of performances in Mexico to rescue this gender as well as the zarzuela. And as such, there were many singers who also started their careers singing the operetta. So, what is it? What is the operetta for Mexico? We have to be truth that there's been not so many titles performed in Mexico, and that there is a very clear preference towards La Viuda Alegre, the Merry Widow, and the Fledermaus, meaning El Murciélago. But much more important than the Merry Widow, it's El Murciélago. El Murciélago has been staged in Mexico a good number of times by small companies and even at the Palacio de Bellas Artes, our greatest theater for this type of music. And from the latest performance that we had a couple of years ago, I am about to change the screen that we have here with us, and I would like to just to set up a little the background of what we are about to start talking. This is a good number of people. We will not go in detail into the specifics of the libretto, who is doing what, because it is somehow it is very messy. There are too many things happening around. Somebody told a lie, somebody's disguised as someone else, and Rosalinde that is cheating, in fact, her husband, but at the same time, he had to be in jail, and there is a good number of things that needed to happen, and one of them is the star of today's. Katia gently accepted to prepare for us the aria by Adele. So my Herr Marquis, what can you tell us? How did you feel about this piece? You particularly liked it? Did you enjoyed any part of it?
Yeah, I found this like fitting me as a glove. We say in Mexico, te queda como anillo al
Yeah,
dedo,
that's right.
like a ring fitting in your finger, because I'm sure that everybody noticed the way I laugh.
Yeah.
So in this case, I didn't work a lot. And like you said, Ricardo, we Latin people like to celebrate, like to laugh, like to make jokes. So in this case, it was like very funny to think about laughing. It was funny. I didn't found particularly a challenge in the vocal sense because I felt like it fitted me great.
And now that you also mentioned it, there is people who call it the laughing song.
That's
So
right.
they call it Adele's laughing song. So, uh,
Yeah.
and just to mention where it plays part, in fact, she has been discovered. She has been acknowledged as the maid of Rosalinde and her husband. I will not give much more details because it's going to be complicated. But now they say that how can she be a maid dressing like that? If you look at the image that I have set in the background, Adele is the girl on the right corner. So how can you say that such a beautiful woman is a maid? It's impossible
Yeah.
that such a beautiful silhouette is a maid. Look at my Greek appearance. I cannot be a maid. And she knows that she is the maid. And we all know that she is the maid. But
Look at my hand and look at my
yeah, yeah,
feet.
yeah. Look at me. I'm just perfect, so beautiful. And that's what it makes it so funny as well. Not only and also because she's also laughing, but we all know that she is laughing at something that is actually truth. And I would like to maybe, if you agree, to go a little more to go very quickly through the score. And maybe as I am putting it on the screen, I would like to ask you if at some point you either maybe more than asking about you the score, I would like to change the question to ask you, how is it that you approach at preparing a piece? You start by reading the lyrics, you start by memorizing, or you start by working on the phrases and the metrics, or you start on the psychological part of the role. I was just telling you a couple of minutes ago before starting the recording that all singers have their own unique process to prepare their roles. How is it that you went about it, if you could share?
Uh, my start point is always to check the notes. I always read the score in the musical sense, you know, the solfeggio part. G, A, B, D, B, pararam, pam, pam, and I start to study the musical part first. That's my beginning. When I'm sure that I'm right in every single note, I start to take care about my vocal work. And I would say that in this meaning, in the score meaning, the last part is to set the text. And then I start to study my character, all the environment about, and the psychological part, of course. And the last part of it is to have fun, to enjoy what I'm singing.
And you're very lucky because as your roles are of coloratura, you always have something to enjoy and to play with. Because just think of the
Yes.
dramatic sopranos thinking about the death of killing someone, so it's very hard to find at least that kind of joy, right? And I also wanted to tell you, are you the kind of singer that likes to listen to other versions to get some? understanding of how other people do, or you do, or you never do that, or you do that only until you have your own version, just to do to see if there is something that maybe you have missed. What type of singer are you in that perspective?
Yes, when I already have built my character, when I understood as much as I could, then I like to listen another versions because I think that something that that should be always present in art is to share. Finally, we have the same score, but it's impossible to sing it in the same way. So yes, I like to hear what another artist are proposing. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I could reach something. Maybe I listen and I don't like it, so I made a little change. I think it's important to listen to others. I think that it enriches me.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And now I think we can go back to the score and start by taking a look. Of course, because something that we need to mention is that, if people who are watching this video are singers themselves, they may be aware that Italian is a very good language for singing. German is not. The sounds of German
It's
are
not.
too harsh, sometimes too deep. So when you sing Italian, everything is bright, the type of sounds, the consonants. But when it is German, it is a little different. So of course you have a certain metrics and rhythm when you speak German, but that cannot be directly translated into singing, because there is something about singing that we always look for projecting all sounds to reach the furthest possible in the best clarity, while there are some sounds natural to German that in fact consume some of that volume, or that instead of projecting it outside, it's somehow like the sound goes in, right? Like Mein Herr Marquis, the takes breath. So you can say Mein Herr, because in that way it sounds weird. So you have to work your way to make it sound beautiful and still try to adhere to the language. Why don't you tell us a little about German? Because you also have another role, which is the Queen of the Night, but that is in German as well.
Yes, yeah,
So what can you tell us?
indeed, my voice fits. My voice was made for singing Mozart, and there are lots of works uh, that I am approaching to, and they are written in German. So yes, I have to work a lot on it.
Yeah,
What I try to do is to have this space in my throat, in my body, in my head, for the vowels, and then I only try to pronounce my, how do you say consonantes?
consonants.
My consonants in the very front of my mouth, um, to solve the issue as much as possible. For example, mein Herr Marquis, ein Mann wie Sie, soll wissen, was versteht.
Now that you have to go on, right? You just started, and I think that now you have to go on. Because remember that people are in fact watching it because they are so very interested at the many ornaments that coloraturas can do. So why don't you continue with the score? And maybe if I
Okay.
interrupt you, is
Uh,
because I want to ask you something in particular around, either a pronunciation, a note, or an intention.
sure. So let's see. Ratteri, inauiasi, vihui so si. Die Honig so voll so part.
Pause there, but make a
This you
make a pause there, please. Sorry to interrupt. Even though it is part, many people, and it requires a very that your voice is very well tuned, and it also needs a very bright sound. Because let's recall that Adele is a very joyful character. So it has to be very bright, very feel. So that I know that for you is very easy. There are not many people who would reach an A that easy and say, oh, it is very easy. It was just an A. It was just an ascending scale to A. But even though people may not be so technically aware of the height of the note, the duration, etc., you have to impress with that bright color, with that joyful and it is very common to all the
yeah,
coloratura roles.
yes. I think we have to understand that mates have an important uh, place in the music. We have the case of Susanna from The Marriage of Figaro,
Hmm.
Le Nozze di Figaro. It's an important character, but I think that the luckiest part of it is that they are not the main character and they can have fun, but they are important.
Yeah, totally agree.
So Adele is having fun. The honey stole for so fine. I'm a princess. I'm Snow White in the forest.
Yeah, because in fact she was invited to the Perry just to have fun.
Yeah,
She's
and she's
and she's
having fun.
doing what she has to do, which is have fun and impress people with her high notes. So if you agree, maybe we can continue with you and the score.
Sure. Dies viel so zierlich und klein, der Sprache die Fühle, die der Gleiche findet sie bei einer Sophanie. I would say that in my case, these bass
Mhm.
notes are my help.
Yeah,
I can, but it's not my hit.
and that's part of the things that many people may not be aware of. But there is no singer that can do it all. Of course, there's been tremendously powerful voices, but no voice is perfect. No voice can match everything to perfection. So if you have volume, you usually do not have super high notes. If you have super high notes, you usually don't have much volume. If you have a very well textured center of your voice, then you usually don't have very good bass notes. So, sort of, we have something, but we have to lack of something as well. And so, for voices like yours that reach very high above the high C, it is understandable that they may not have the bass notes as their favorites because your voices are not built for bass notes, are built for middle and high, the upper register. That was just a
Yeah,
technical comment.
yeah. It literally took me years to approach to these notes because I heard my teacher telling to my partners, you can place your voice, you can place your sound when where you talk, but I talk like this. I
That's the
speak
thing.
in here. I speak here, so I didn't have a reference in my body. It was not a natural or an organic sound for me. So it was complicated. I really fight against these notes, but well, they're finally here. I'm sure I can make it better. När behind så förni. But if you ask me, what do I prefer? This D or a high one? Well, I will choose the high one, of
And people
course.
will applause more if you do a higher note, much more higher notes. That is also true.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah, so let's go ahead with the score if you agree.
Of course. Um, Hannes Soferni gestehen müssen sie fürwahr, sehr komisch ist war. Ja, sehr komisch, ist die Sache, drum versieht sie, wenn ich lache. That sounds a lot like my real
Yeah,
laugh.
I know your laugh, so I know I know that's the way you would do it.
I'm not singing.
Yeah, and you're not singing, yeah, I know.
I'm not singing in this part.
In fact,
Conmigo, is this Se komisch, Herr Marquis.
and why don't we make a pause there? Because now, and as we agreed to talk a little about the scale that you had before, now you had a couple of trines. No, there were three, right? Yeah, there were three trines. Why don't we share with people what a trine actually is? Because they listen to this, no, and maybe people may say, "Oh, she's doing something funny with her throat. Look at that funny sound." But not all singers can sing a trine. Let's be very clear about it. There are voices, as I was mentioning before, there are voices that cannot sing a trine. It requires a certain technique. Why don't you tell us a little more? I know that you do them easily because you sing them all the time. Why don't you tell with people? Why don't you share with people a little more about these trines?
Yeah, well, um, it's different from vibrato, we have to say. Vibrato is the when your sound is correctly set in your body. And the voice vibrates. But a trill is like two notes moving slowly first and then you speed it up. And it's certainly easy to avoid by light voices because let's take a simple example. If you see the point of my pencil
Yeah.
is a thin one, then you can make a line and it's easy to see the high point and the low one, right? But if you do this with a marker, it won't be that easy
You tell me.
because it's bigger.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's how Adele laughs, right?
that's how I laugh. So in my case, well, it was not difficult to study. That's the way I started. You take a slow speed, and you must feel your sound doesn't do this. It's not like a zigzag. It must be a soft wave. And you earn speed by practicing.
Yeah. Everything and now that you mentioned it, everything in singing comes after a good number of years and rehearsal, practice. thousands of hours for singers to reach a better state in their voice. I was approached. Maybe I think I have not mentioned it in the postcards, but about a year ago, maybe less, about 10 years, 10 months, sorry, 10 months ago, I prepared a small, a short number of presentations. I was introducing people to a given number of areas, and at the end of those presentations, people approached me. And I recall a mother, and maybe it has happened to you as well, or to many other singers if they are listening actually. She approached because she wanted her son to be an opera singer, which of course I found it as a very good option for his career. Only the kid was 6 years old. So, and she asked
Okay.
me, how long will it take him to sing like you? And I told her, oh, he has to study not less than 5, 10 years. Opera takes huge number of years, and singers are improving all the time. And when I told her all the blah 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 because of this, how voices mature and it depends on his tesitura, blah 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 blah, she told me, "Isn't there a way that it is faster?" And I told her, "No, madam, opera does not take shortcuts. You have to do what you have to do." And she told me,
And you have to love
"And you
it.
have to love it." And I recall that she told me, well, maybe he will not be an opera singer then. Oh,
Oh,
how unfortunate. We don't know. It's up for the kid to decide. But well, let's go back because now it's the repetition where she's about to tell us that she has this Greek profile. And maybe this time I don't stop you. I just let you go through the whole repetition to the end because we basically have talked about a couple of things around the score. If you agree with that, we can proceed.
okay. Mit dem Profil im Briefchen Stil beschenkte mir Natur. Wenn ich dies Gesicht schon genügend spricht, so sieht sie die Figur. Schon durch die Necessitan sich diese Toilette nur an Menschene voll die Liebe, ma fide, der schöne so verwirrt hat ganz ihr Herz erfüllt. Der schöne so verwirrt hat ganz ihr Herz erfüllt. Nun sehen sie die Jubelhort, sehr komisch ist der Vater. Eu cerco mio, este solvero, tu versentero, penitentero. Eu cerco mio, este solvero.
And of course, as you may have realized, our soprano being a coloratura, it has just added, as it is usually tradition, right? So, how do you sopranos go about that? You say, okay, I feel like I can sing a D this time. No, maybe I will do a D sharp. Or how is it that you make your final choice before singing your last note?
I think that if we are having in this case in this laughing area, um, I think I appreciate that all the parts that says it's a laugh. And when you're laughing, you cannot control your sound, you cannot control your voice. You are just and and the voice takes different directions, and you explode. So if you are laughing, I'm having the best time of my life. So why not?
Yeah, and I agree. I have never thought about that, but it is true. In fact, when you are laughing, at some point you are losing control. You are so happy that you don't say, "Oh no, no, I just laughed for 3 seconds. I have to stop now." You keep laughing for as long as you feel like it. So I think it makes sense. Yeah, it does. Well, I'm not sure. I would like just to start wrapping up today's. I would like to leave. I'm putting it on the screen. If you are into music, and you have run as everybody during these pandemic times, run into difficulty of rehearsing your music because there are very limited spaces. There are very limited places where you can actually. It depends on each country, of course, but in Mexico, where we already have a very limited opportunities to actually sing or to enjoy our art, now they are even fewer. And to meet with other colleagues or other artists has become even more difficult. But very fortunately, and I think that's one of the very good things about pandemics, that forced me into looking for resources in the internet, and I found a very good number of places where there are many talented people sharing their materials for free, and that is the case for this channel that is called Free Pianist. He's a superb pianist. I gone through a good number of materials that he has posted. If you have the chance, I know you will agree. He's a super talented pianist. And as I was sharing with you also a couple of months before this, people may not know, but it is hard to find a good pianist to accompany you in the recitals. But there are, and thanks God, they are sharing their materials online. So if you would like to take a look at these, there are many others. I am not saying there are not others. There are at least 5 or 7 places that I really enjoy when I look for music, and his I like very much, in particular because I like how light the music sounds. If I was a pianist, I would like to play as he does. You see,
Like,
because all the notes are so bright. So tararan dun dun, tararan dun dun, tarararan dun dun, dun 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 dun. And with that in mind, is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody, Katia, to wrap up today's postcard?
yes, of course. Yes, talking a little bit more about this pandemic situation. We sing with the freedom that the pianist is gonna follow me. I can mistake and he will catch me,
Yeah,
But in this moment, we had to follow the pianist, and this obligates you to study more your score, to be totally sure of what you're doing, because you can tell him, but here I do this, do that. You study and you learn the score, and it doesn't stop.
right. Yeah, and now that you bring it
So
up,
it's
yeah.
a hard work to work like this if you are not used to study deeply.
Yeah, and once you have learned it with what I call static materials, because this recording is static, he took the time and he took the tempo to play it. So you somehow managed to follow the timing, the tempo he worked with. So you do with that, and you know that when time comes that you can sing in and you have a pianist by your side, you know that now you will take longer for the note that you wanted, that you will make a pause where you wanted to make a pause because the way you sing it is usually with a pause there because it makes sense to this. Or there are many things that singers take into account when they are.
Because you need to breathe.
Yeah, and
In many cases, you need to
you
breathe.
need to. Yeah, that's what composers never think about. They think singers don't breathe, but you're
They
right.
compose their own sing.
You're right, and you need that pause for breathing, and you're absolutely right. And there is also where it comes your personality, because in your personality you usually do something with the song. You follow, but at some point you do something that was not written, and that's of course one of the disadvantages. But now in times of pandemics, and provided that there are not as many resources and possibilities of what we call group of artists meeting each other to create more art. That's not currently possible. So we work with what we have now, right?
We have to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I really want to thank you for having shared this time with us. I hope that people also enjoyed this week's postcard as much as I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it moreover because it was not my voice this time. Yeah. And I also had a chance of introducing you to Katia. As you can see, she's a very talented singer. She has this very musical feeling for what she's proposing in her performances. And of course, being a Mexican, likes to laugh and is someone that you can have fun talking for hours.
Thank you, Ricardo. It's been a pleasure for me to share this with all of you.
Thanks, everybody, and I will be seeing you hopefully some other time very soon. Thanks, everybody, and bye bye.